think of what your life would be if you never got what you wanted, right? You're waking up every day just hating the fact that you're in the position that you're in. You're not with the person that you want to be with. You're not in that financial situation you want to be with. Drearily, drudgery, living day after day in the same nonsense. You don't have to do that anymore. Hi, my name is Joseph Alai. Welcome to my channel on systematic manifestation techniques. And today I want to explain the two components to creating your reality. So if you're someone who's manifested things, you've experienced a wish fulfilled or two, but then things began to shift back into a place where they were before. Or perhaps you're brand new and you're just wondering, what do I need to do to create my reality the way that I want? Well, over the last 12 years, I've been engaging in tens of thousands of systematic manifestation experiments. And over the course of those years, I've been able to derive a systematic framework through the data that I've collected. And even though I've read hundreds of books on manifesting and spirituality, even though in college and university, I was studying computer science, mathematics, and physics, this is something derived solely through my experience and those of my subscribers and my clients. And this is something that is a common denominator behind every single client I've had that has manifested anything from their specific people, from going from poor to manifesting successful businesses. And even myself, I'll give you stories and examples of exactly how the principle of the two-prong approach to manifesting anything that you want is applicable in my life and likely yours as well. So I said a two-prong approach. Your reality in itself consists of your mind pushed out. In other words, everything you've ever witnessed, everything you've ever experienced is in one way or another attached to you. You and your mind, your consciousness is pushed out. And what that looks like is whether it's because of a direct thought or an imaginal act, an overwhelming majority of experiences that you've had were first created either by directly thinking of a thing, indirectly thinking of a thing, or not on purpose, or through this second prong approach, which is through your subconscious beliefs, subconscious assumptions, expectations, memories. That second component is often either misunderstood or neglected entirely. And I promise you that looking at your reality right now in its totality, if I asked you, do you remember imagining or thinking up of every single thing that you've experienced from the moment you can remember up until now? Your answer would have to be no, no way. You would likely have been able to trace back many thoughts, many ideas, many imaginal activities, many affirmations, or whatever technique you've used. You can trace back this reality to your mind, but probably 99% of this reality you could not. And those come from that second prong, that second aspect of your reality. Now, I want to give you an example and how you can apply this to your life. So, first of all, the answer to this question is probably so important to hear. Can you manifest the thing that you want? The answer to that question is no matter what it is, yes, you absolutely can. Anything is possible. If you have the capacity to imagine, then you have the capacity to create. Your imagination is not some random essence where you're generating thoughts in the mind. Your imagination is actually delving into in what quantum physics is, the quantum field, where all things exist. All things exist in potential. So the imagination is simply perceiving into that eternity and selecting it. And through that, you can manifest it. Now, the bridge of incidents and the way that your life is unfolding, in most part, as I said, does not come directly only through what you've imagined, but through your subconscious beliefs and assumptions. So this is why in many cases, you can imagine a thing, you can manifest a thing, but it can revert back into the same pattern that you've experienced over and over again. Ask yourself, look at your life. How many times have things unfolded in the same pattern? How many times Can you look at a friend and say they've done the same thing over and over again? Isn't it a little suspicious that things always end up in the same way? This is because of beliefs. This is because of assumptions. This is because of memories. And through the span of our lives, yes, we directly and consciously create our reality. But whether it's done on purpose or accidental is an entirely different thing altogether. I want to give you an example. Back from when I was 16 years old up until I was 30 years old, it was easy for me to get into a relationship. I could manifest any person that I wanted. That is what I thought the core of this reality was, is selecting a thing that I want, a person that I want, a business that I want, a success that I want, forming an image in my mind's eye, imagining that thing to the best of my ability, with all tones of reality, all senses, all emotion, all experience, all thought, and then pushing that out onto the screen of space, into this physical reality. But every single time, like clockwork, it would backfire. I would get jealous, I would get insecure, or the woman would change her mind. Something would happen. Guaranteed, time and time again, my friends and family could put a timer on it. Something would happen that would, in one way or another, appear to unhinge me. The relationship would spiral down, and then it would implode. Over and over again, I began to systematically manifest these things. I would imagine a person. I would imagine getting back with a person. I would imagine being happy with that person. I would imagine all the different ins and outs of that relationship. They would all unfold, and then they would all backfire. They would all end in the same way. Or say, for an example, money. Money is easy to get. I'm very fortunate to have had that belief. The problem is, money was very easy to get, but it was very easy to lose as well. Time and time again, I would come into large sums of money. I would manifest large sums of money. But then something would happen. Inevitably, some expense would come up. A family member was in dire need. I would get in trouble. I'd have to pay a huge fine. The money would come in and the money would leave just as quickly. So I would imagine more of it. I would imagine larger sums of money, more consistent amounts of money. It would come, but then it would go again. And maybe you relate to this story. Maybe you know someone who relates to this story. Maybe there's some aspect of your life that is consistently in need of constant reparation. Or maybe there's something that you want so bad and just haven't been able to get it. This is why the assumptions and beliefs or memories that exist, patterns that have unfolded, they stem normally from an experience. Now, whether or not that is a real or perceived experience, it will impress the subconscious mind. In other words, an experience happens. Someone makes a comment. A girl breaks your heart. A family member always tells you, hold on to your money. Money's hard work, hard to get. Or things unexpected always happen. These experiences, these things that happen, they are perceived. Now that is where they can change. So in other words, you might actually be experiencing something completely different than what you perceive. You might be experiencing a loving relationship with your family, a loving relationship with a partner, but your perception is variable. You control the perception. So when you perceive it, it paints the experience with your perception and gets re-impressed into the subconscious mind, not as it was not as it happened, but as it was perceived. So that is why we can impress different experiences than actually happened. And what becomes impressed is what manifests, not what we first witness. That's one way that beliefs, expectations, memories impress the subconscious. Now, I said before, probably 99% of your reality is subconscious beliefs, assumptions, expectations pushed out. So this is why we can deliberately imagine something, being in a relationship, starting a business. I imagined a successful business only one time and it manifested. But I had a slew of beliefs that would have to be modified afterward. I was in constant fear that money would come in and go. And that is what happened for a while, until I realized through experimentation, finding patterns that, well, it was the same thing happening over and over. And when it was, all I had to do was change that thing from happening over and over. But I couldn't do that by just imagining having money. That wasn't the problem. I could do that. Money was easy to get. I could get into that relationship, but how did I stop it from crashing and burning every single time, destroying my life in one way or another? I had to come up with a way to fix this. And the way that I did it was in writing down, so an inventory of writing down these negative patterns literally in their true and pure form. Money comes in and then it goes twice as fast. Women change their mind. Whenever I'm in a relationship, I start to get afraid. These patterns I would write down just as they are, clear as day, nothing else fancy about it. I'm not here to relive it. I know what it's like to relive it. I've lived it over and over again for 15 years, the same exact experience. So what I did after I wrote it down was I thought to myself, well, if this is caused by something subconscious, what would that be? Now, I could get philosophical and say, well, I don't love myself, or I don't care about myself, or I'm not worthy of this, but I knew that wasn't the case. I did love myself. I did care about myself. In fact, even many other parts of my life I didn't care about, and it still worked out perfectly fine. So I knew that this was not the cause. The self-concept is my relation to that thing. So in other words, what was the direct cause of the fact that women change their mind? Or every time I fall in love, I get my heart broken. What was the cause of that? Well, it had to be a direct belief. And that belief would be every time I get into a relationship, the woman changes her mind. Or every time this, then that. That is a direct belief or assumption written on the ledger of the subconscious mind that executes every single time. They're trigger points. In fact, just the same way as I've spoken it, is it written on the subconscious. And as it's written on the subconscious, it must be pushed out. That is the law of consciousness. So how do we fix this? Well, we fix this by creating an opposite. So I need to create a new assumption, a new belief. It's not as hard as to say, well, I've had this belief for 30 years. Well, it's going to take 30 years to change it. No, all we have to do is imagine a different belief, a different assumption, a different blueprint. And to do that, we need now, so first step was to jot down the exact event. The second step was to generalize it. The third step is to find the opposite. The opposite would be women are consistent in my life. Women keep a continuous mindset. I remain secure and confident in relationships. My confidence grows in relationships. Me and my partners grow together. Whatever it was that would be the contradiction of that negative thought process would need to be instilled in my mind. Now, how do you do that? Well, you write it down and then you imagine it. Imagination is the cornerstone of creation. It's all that is needed to create your reality in the way that you want. So how do you imagine a belief? Well, you do this by simply, in this case, the simplest way systematically to do it is to imagine a conversation. A conversation can encapsulate a statement, which can encapsulate a belief, which can encapsulate the fixing of that pattern. So you imagine a conversation between you and a friend, you and a trusted confidant. This comes straight from scripture. All you do is imagine hearing the good news. And when you hear the good news about how your life has changed, Joseph, man, all the girls that you date are consistent always. All your relationships always leave you better. You always grow in confidence when you're in relationships. Or in other words, every time money comes in, it keeps coming in. Right? Money, every penny I spend, 2 pennies come back. These were things that I literally wrote down. And when I wrote them down, it literally reversed the problems that were happening. Those patterns ceased to exist immediately. This is how I knew just the exact way as I wrote them down were how they were written in the ledger of my subconscious. And so systematically, I created an inventory, and this is what you need to do. Create an inventory, step by step, event by event, of all the patterns that exist in your life. Generalize them. Find the opposite. then imagine those things. Imagine conversations one at a time, one imaginal act at a time, one statement at a time, one belief at a time. And one after the next, you will systematically remove those negative beliefs, negative assumptions, and you will replace them with those that you want. Now, this doesn't just go for removing negative patterns. This goes for creating new ones altogether, ones that you never even had to remove. So what do you want to experience? Money always comes to you easily. You're always filled with amazing ideas. Every endeavor you engage in is successful. Every relationship you're in is perfect and amazing. Whatever you want to experience, everything that I eat, I never gain weight. Whatever the case is, whatever you want to do, you construct that generalized aspect of life. You imagine it in the form of a conversation. That is how easy it is to instill a belief. Now, I have heard many really crazy things. I've heard people say that beliefs are extremely hard to change. I've heard people say that the only reason we can't skip time and teleport to different dimensions is because we believe we can't. Well, here's a solution. Prove it to me. Go ahead and change that belief. This is how easy it is. Do it and prove it with all the other things. Everyone who's watching this video, who has been following along with me for all these years, go ahead and tell everyone else how easily this works. This is the way to change your reality. This is the way. The two-prong is one is imagining the thing that you want, and the other is instilling the belief to facilitate that manifestation. And if you do this, you will get anything that you want. Anything that you want. So what is it that you want? I mean, think of what your life would be if you never got what you wanted, right? You're waking up every day just hating the fact that you're in the position that you're in. You're not with the person that you want to be with. You're not in that financial situation you want to be with. Drearily, drudgery, living day after day in the same nonsense. You don't have to do that anymore. This is your way out. I've been doing this for 12 years systematically, longer than that non-systematically. The point is I've tested this tens of thousands of times, and my audience, my subscribers, my clients, way more than that. And it works every single time. All you have to do is just simply put this to the test. Every single time, if you do it the right way, you will get the right results. This is a predictable framework that you can use right now. Just simply devise what you want. Devise what you want and imagine what you want. And if you imagine what you want, you will get what you want. A bridge of incidents will unfold exactly in a perfect way, orchestrated in a way that you could never have consciously conceived. And when that happens, you will land directly in the place where, reaching out your hand, you will get your desire. Every single time. I've seen it time and time again. So do that and watch how well this works. If you want to manifest anything that you want, hit subscribe to my channel. Every single week, I release multiple videos on how to systematically manifest exactly what you want. No longer hoping. You don't have to wonder and worry and hope, is this going to work? I hope I'm doing it right. No. Systematically, time and time again, this works every single time. Put it to the test. Subscribe to my channel if you want to manifest your biggest desires. And I'll see you next time. Thank you. So when it works, please put it in the comments. If you want to manifest, subscribe to my channel. Hold on. If you want, hold on, here it is. My mind just went totally blank.